On the previous video, I talked about how to override a specific theme for a specific view. Specifically on the listing view, if I hit Command D, it opens this helper where I can choose the view and the theme, and having some view specs, like having the header and footer, listing details, and do the same thing for all the themes. But I want to improve some things. Like I don't like that when I go to the bottom, the portal header is not sticky. So that's the first thing that I'm gonna do because the backlog of this project is really long. I mean, I already did like the most important or difficult part, which is implementing the B2B2C portals architecture. But look at all these pending items, like all the route implementations, like listing, home, categories, category, explore, submit. Some minor items like setting on the sitemap the categories and listings, so we get good indexing results on Google. And the claiming feature, so the admins should approve whether a user can claim it or not, and if they approve it, those users will able to edit the listing. And the most difficult feature that I see coming is the pricing, because here I can implement like a credit system. For example, the action submit will cost X amount of credits, and these credits cost will be set by the directory owner. And then the user may buy credits or subscribe to a plan that has already credits and include some features as well. I'm not sure about that. And yeah, the other things are pretty, well, not so easy, but relatively easy compared to the pricing feature. Like the landing page, setting up the first blog post, writing some articles, setting up the contact and newsletter forms, and of course, deploy. But let's do tiny steps, and I'm gonna try and do all the views that I can as fast as possible. But first, on the listing, I want to improve the portal header. So I'm gonna go to my directory portal and open the listing theme number 1. And this portal header should be sticky. So I'm gonna put like sticky and see if that works. But I don't like the background white. It should be as chat.cn PG background, and maybe without shadow, but let's see how it looks with shadow. Oh, and the other thing that I noticed is because of how I implemented the dynamic theme view selector, so this whenever you add a new theme, like let me show you. If I add theme, why is it not copying? Theme number 5. Now I have this error on all the views, like on the home view as well. I did that to have like a TypeScript check whenever I add a new theme. But the drawback is whenever I do changes like on the listing theme, like put hello here, it doesn't automatically put the changes. I mean, the hot reloading feature doesn't work. I need to manually reload like this. But I'm not sure. I mean, the thing that matters is the product, not so much the developer experience, because the developer is actually me and you. But you can handle this, I think, because the benefit of TypeScript is much better. So I don't like the shadow, and let's refresh. But maybe a border bottom with color border, just so it looks like this. Okay, so now it's working. And I don't like this breadcrumb because since I now have this fixed header, it doesn't make sense to have like a breadcrumb, in my opinion. See how Product Hunt does it. whenever you scroll, you always have the header at the top, and you don't have a breadcrumb showing anywhere. So let's see how it looks. Okay, and what else can be improved on this page? I mean, we should have the listing CTAs, which is already here, but I'm gonna add another specification on view specs, and I'm gonna go to the listing one and add another here that says the image should be displayed. Didn't I have that? Maybe that goes into the listing details. Image and logo actually, but I wanted to add listing edit button. Just if the user is the creator, show an edit button. Of course, I'm not going to implement that right away. I'm missing the components, so I'm going to check on the theme view specs components. I'm going to put if components in item and the length is more than 0, put it. Okay, so now we have this new spec, edit button. And we need to uncheck the listing details because we are not rendering the logo. And the logo, let me see if I put a logo on SaasRock, on the listing SaasRock. Okay, so here it is, but it's not rendering correctly. So I guess this doesn't exist anymore. Let me see. Let me change it to PNG. Okay, so it should work. Okay, but I mean, there's like an error on rendering the image. Let me see why. Input image. And where's the value of the image? It gets from the value or default value. And I'm editing a listing, so listing ID, but on the portal, I mean, no, not on the portal. Listing ID, and then look for logo, and the value, I'm gonna put it here, just so I know that there's a value. So yeah, there's a value, so the input image should render the image. Show uploading image. I guess this is because it's not opened. No, it is opened. Opened and image. If the image is not set, but the image can be either one of these. Okay, so I think that works. So we have the image here and the image on the on both on the logo and the image. Now, I'm not rendering the logo, so I'm gonna do that on the portal on the listing theme number 1. I think at the left. I mean, I could do it like Notion. When you add an icon, it's on top of the title of the page, and when you change the cover goes like full width. So, well, maybe that could be another theme, but we need the icon, I mean the logo. Let me see how this is done in product hunt. So it's at the left. I'm gonna do the same on the title. Where's the title? Here's the description and the title. And maybe there shouldn't be much space between the description and the title. And the title could be a little bit smaller. These are the CTAs, so these are the ones that are taking the space. So maybe the description should go below the title. Let's see. Yeah, I think that looks better. So we can now put this into a flex. with space of x2 item center, and put this inside a div. And if the data listing image is set, or logo I mean, we're gonna render a square logo. So it's a thumbnail, actually. It's not a logo. Because when you submit a product, or I'm gonna check one of my products, and go to media, here it's called thumbnail, but this varies between directories. Like if I go to unit and go to my tools and go to SaasRock and see how the media is rendered here, it's logo and image. So I guess I could do the same, like I'm already I'm doing with logo and image. Okay, so now what if the is there any shadow on this? Let me look at other products. Like there's a new page called what was it? Categories? No, shoutouts. I think this page was released today. So Figma has a border, and Notion has a border. So I think we need to add a border on any logo. So border, the default one, and round that MD, I mean SM. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's see. Okay. So either I make it bigger or I make the text smaller. I think I need to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. That doesn't look bad, but maybe a little bit more spacing between the logo and the description and title. Yeah, this looks not so bad. What else can we do here? I mean, this is bugging me because I actually copy pasted this from the landing page. So I'm gonna go and edit this content and just put like something from the SaasRock docs. I guess I could put the introduction content because this is like simple HTML. Oops, I saved the icon. Okay, saved. Now, what is SaasRock? Okay, so why is it not rendering as a major title? Let me take a quick look at this. I guess it should be inside a prose. Let me see how I'm rendering the HTML content. Yeah, this should be prose. And in case it's dark, it's prose dark. And actually we can test the prose dark by adding the theme selector here, so we can test quickly. Portal header, and I'm gonna go whenever I have submit, and here I'm gonna add, well, here, local, I mean theme selector, and what else? I guess the color theme. No, is it? Let me see how it's done on the header. Theme selector and dark mode toggle. Dark mode toggle. So these two, I'm gonna only render it for debug mode because I don't want the end users to have this setting. Maybe this should be a directory setting. I'm not sure. I'm gonna grab the debug from use root data and use this instead. Okay, so now it's working. We can test the dark mode and switch to red. It's not switching to red because the actual theme comes from the directory. So I guess I should remove the theme selector and leave the theme, the dark mode toggle only. And if we want to change the setting of the theme, we need to go to the branding and choose whatever color we want to test. and refresh. Okay, but I don't like this because the icon is blue. So maybe I should remove this primary color and put it in somewhere more neutral. So on the listing theme number 1, BG primary, no, it's, what is it? The category? Oh, it's category batch. So instead of BG primary, I'm gonna choose secondary. And see how it looks. I think that looks better. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. And what else? Maybe this should be with font medium. And spacing. I need more spacing. It's bugging me that it's all cluttered. So the category, I'm gonna add more padding between these two. So maybe inside a div, so I know I'm spacing this out with the space 4. And the listing status banner, actually the image should be inside here as well. No, the image is okay to have this tiny space. And I'm seeing that the image is rendering border, but without overflow. You can see this better in dark mode. Well, no, it's the same. So I'm gonna put overflow hidden, so the border covers the edges. Okay. And what else? What else can we implement? Maybe a border between the HTML and the attributes. So before the HTML, we can add a border top and see how it looks. Okay, with padding top of 4. And maybe the border should be a little bit quieter. Border muted foreground, or border muted. Yeah, like that. I guess this could be it for this listing view. So now let's go to, I need to check listing details, and we need to add the edit button. And actually, we need another spec for this view called bookmark. Well, bookmark, it's not on the roadmap, so maybe I shouldn't add it because it will keep expanding the backlog. So I'm just gonna leave edit button and put the button to go to the edit route. So maybe I should create another edit route, but that shouldn't be on the theme. Maybe that should be like a fixed thing to do. Where should I put it? Maybe at the top, or besides the CTAs. Yeah, I think it should be with the CTAs. So I need from the data, if can edit, put button secondary and put an edit icon. I'm not sure what this edit icon is, but let's change this to true to see how it will look. Okay, so that's really ugly. So pencil icon. It still looks ugly. Pencil icon, alternative. Nope. I need a quieter pencil. Empty icon. Okay, but smaller. Much smaller. Or just put the word edit. Yeah. Or maybe a gear icon. Gear icon. With the class name 5. Yeah, that looks not so bad. So maybe this should be smaller so it doesn't take that much space. Yeah, because it doesn't take away um, the design. Now we need to implement this data can edit, but we don't actually have listing owners. Like you have which portal user ID? Well, it says by portal user ID, so we can actually use this. Yeah, let's use that. I'm gonna remove the unused icons that I tried in the breadcrumb import, and I'm gonna go to the listing API loader data interface and add here can edit, and this will be true if the current listing portal user ID is the same as the user ID. But yeah, just like this, and this wouldn't appear. So I'm going to submit as this user a new listing that needs to be approved. And I'm thinking whether this should be here as well. So maybe not. The submit theme number one. Actually, the submit page shouldn't support many themes, don't you think? Because it's just this form. What can you override? Like the whether two properties are in the same row? I don't think so. So yeah, I'm gonna delete the submit from the themes, but I'll do that later. This submit theme will be pulled into this submit view, which this submit view checks the current theme. So I'm gonna remove this from this view. But first, I'm gonna submit or remove the breadcrumb. And this breadcrumb comes from this menu. So let's see how it looks. Submit. And maybe the submit should contain like submit listing, and the listing name should be a setting, because in this case is a SaasKit. But for other things like a cafeteria, it will be submit cafeteria. So we should define like the listing name. But yeah, submit is okay. I'm gonna submit another one called spelled SaaS starter kit. And well, we shouldn't have the status as a portal user, so I'm gonna remove that status and go to the submit action data. So whenever we are creating, we are not gonna get the status, and we're gonna put the status as pending. And why is it complaining? I think it's because the HTML. Yeah. I'm not sure if I should add the HTML here. Maybe I should, because the user is the one that is gonna create the whole listing. So instead of having it like that, I'm gonna receive that value here. And I'm gonna go to the directory listing ID route and search for the HTML. And I'm using this content form, so I need to reuse this. And copy pasting code is not so bad, because that way you don't have to add many props to render on what page are you on. So I can quickly do changes where it's needed and not everywhere. So now I can use this content form. Where is it placed? It's on its own settings section, but maybe here it could be at the end. And the default value, it's empty. So let's see if this works and try again. I'm gonna submit svelte SaaS frontends. And svelte SaaS frontends. Why don't we have the, yeah, I needed to refresh to get the changes without the .com. And the logo, well, I can put this logo, I guess, but this logo should be square because it's actually the thumbnail. So maybe I should have, well, I'm not sure, because on Product Hunt you don't actually put a logo, you put a thumbnail. So maybe instead of using this logo, I should use the icon, which is this one. But I already have that, but I'm gonna save it just to see if the users can submit logos. And upload, go to downloads, and where is it? I'm gonna put it on desktop. Okay, so that's my logo and the image. I'm gonna put a screenshot of this and rename it, because there's an error that I can actually put. Oh, I can. Okay, the category, I don't have the category svelte created, so I'm gonna put it temporarily for React. What am I saying? It should be svelte, and React shouldn't have this framework. I mean, it's not related, it's unrelated. This is SvelteKit, and this has Tailwind CSS and just that. And the markdown, I'm gonna put only this. And click save. Okay, so it seems to do nothing. Save. Yeah, the button is not actually doing anything. Why is that? Form, the action is create. And what is this form? It's from Remix Run React, so that's okay. And what's save? It should work. Maybe I have something unset. The description. Yeah, there seems to be a bug somewhere. I'm not sure where. Let's see if it's calling. Okay, it's actually calling it. Status is not defined. So the first thing that I'm going to do is listen to the action data error. So I'm gonna put that inside use effect, but I like to put my use effects all the way to the bottom, below the properties or the use states. Use effect, and I'm gonna listen to the action data, whatever. If action data success, I'm gonna toast the user with success. Otherwise, if error, give the error. And the error that we had is that on the API server, status is not defined. This one. Status. Okay, so that should work, but we lost all the changes. So I'm gonna type it again, remove it, and where's the logo? I think it was on desktop, and the image was there as well. No, I didn't save it. I just dropped it. And now the category, whatever, and SvelteKit, UI Tailwind CSS, and finally copy this. And we shouldn't have any errors now. Save. Okay, so now it's created and we have this banner. The listing is pending approval. So this banner should be all the way to the top. So on the listing theme, number 1, I'm gonna move this before the image, but with spacing, of course. Oops. I'm gonna add its own spacing with py, with a little bit of spacing. Okay, this listing is pending approval. So if I go as an anonymous user, this will say unpublished. This is only visible for me because I submitted it. And let's actually fix the sitemap for this, because currently we don't have any categories or listings. So I need to go to sitemap and where can I put it? I guess here. I'm gonna get all the categories. Get categories, or what was the name? Get categories. Yeah, and we need the portal ID and get all the articles published. Wait, get articles. No, get listings. What am I thinking? Categories. Without a category ID, we just need the status of published and category ID of undefined. And what else? Search params, but this can be undefined as well. Why is it complaining? Okay, now these should be called listings. And for every category, we're gonna add the sitemap as category in the slug. And actually, let's see how I'm adding these entries. New entry, sitemap entries. I think this should be before. Let me see how it's done on the default site, where I'm getting the pages. This is before add sitemap entry. Okay, I'm gonna copy this and put it here. But we don't have this function. I need that. I don't know why I deleted it. Oh, it's right here. And the route is category in the slug, and the last modification, updated add, but we don't have that for category DTO. Category DTO. So instead of getting the category DTO, I'm gonna access the actual database. DB, category, and find or portal, and use this. But we can only select what we need. The slug and the updated ad, maybe created ad as well. So we can check if updated ad, put that, otherwise put category, created ad, and add the listings as well. And for the listings, I think we have all what is needed, but we can do the same and just retrieve what we need from the database. Find many, where portal ID, but here we need the status published, and do the same. Okay, so let's try again and go as an incognito to see the sitemap XML and search for svelte. Okay, so we don't have that, but SaasRock should exist as listing, but this shouldn't be /listing. It should be just the slug. Yeah, let's see. SaasRock. Okay, so there it is. There's Netcore SaaS, and for each category we have this page, and this page of course should exist, and it does. So now what if the the directory owner actually approves it, it will, or rejects it. Maybe whenever rejected, we should send an email, but that's too complicated for this scope. We're trying to launch an MVP. The category is not actually set, and we don't have it here as well. So there's an error whenever I'm setting the category ID on the portal, on the submit API. Let's see category ID. Okay, so it shouldn't be parameters category. It should get it from the form. So I'm gonna submit another thing, and just like that, and put whatever. Well, in this case, C# and net core, project type, web API, and console. Hello. Save it, and this should be of type C#. Okay, so now the category ID is correctly set, so we can reject this, reject it. And if we approve the spelled one, it should, I'm gonna quickly create spelled as a language and put that on spelled. But we need to go to categories. So now we have spelled. This link doesn't work. I'm gonna quickly fix that. Categories, theme, 1. It's the first theme, as you can see here. And there's no specs for categories, so I'm actually gonna do that as well. For categories, we need specs, and I'm gonna add the header and footer, categories, list of categories, and just that, I think. Category badge is not a component that we can actually use on this page. So let's see. We now have header and footer, but it's not sticky. So I'm gonna search whenever I'm using portal header and put the sticky mode, just like I did with theme, like this. Or even better, put that inside the portal header. Let's see if it works for all the pages. Yeah. Okay, so the categories no longer need the breadcrumb. And we need to make this icon a little bit bigger, or we can implement how Product Hunt does it. Well, but they don't have an icon for each category. They instead have some listings on the specific categories. So we could do that. I mean, add some icons. I think that looks nice. So just let me think. We should add the description of the category as well, in case there's any. So I'm gonna search for name. And here it's the description. I'm gonna add description on each one of these categories. Built with React. Well, but this is kind of redundant. I don't think for this directory makes sense, like built with .NET and built with Svelte. But I want to see how it looks whenever I have category descriptions. Built with Svelte, and we can add some of the initial listings. So on the categories API, for each category, we should retrieve some listings. I'm not sure how to do that. Maybe add like an undefined listings like this, where we should have the icon, the name. Well, let's see the listing DTO. It's name, slug, description, name, and the slug. And I think that's it. And this is an array. So on the categories API server, we can select all the listings, public listings, get listings with the status published and the category ID. No, I get listings, category ID undefined. Well, I think this should be undefined by default instead of having to set category undefined whenever I don't need it. And I'm gonna iterate each category, and I'm gonna find the first three. Find first three. Category listings, filter, sort, slice. And this is like this. I put an underscore because it's not a real property. It's like a computed property. Listings DTO, it's not assignable because why? This can be name or slug, icon name or slug. And this is listing DTO, icon. Oh, it's not icon, it's logo. So this interface should be the logo. And now we can use this computed object on the categories theme. So on this below the description, cart content, put item listings map and return the image. But this flex should actually be on the parent div, which is this one. And let's put the slug, and we can have the image or SVG and put spacing. The spacing is already there, so this can be a link. A link to the corresponding slug. Let's see if it works. Okay, but it's adding some unwanted spacing. So maybe instead of cart content, just like that, and make it this like these icons bigger, but the same way we implemented it on the listing theme, where we had the logo. So maybe this should be a component, like listing logo. Yeah, I think so. So besides category badge, we should have, I'm gonna start structuring in folders. Listings, listing logo. Export default function, listing logo, return this. From React. And we should retrieve an item with a logo that can be null. And if we want to override the size, maybe this should be on a class name that we can pass, or an object of size, but I guess it can be just class name. And here we define the interface like this and import this helper function. And the source, if the item is, the logo isn't there, so we're not going to return anything. And here we want this size, and it's the default, but let's put it anyways. Listing logo. It should be called logo. And the item is the listing. And let's not forget the class name. Okay, so do the same thing for the categories. Instead of image or SVG, just put the listing logo. Import the component. And this, I think, the same size is okay. Okay, so now we have that spacing, but there's happening something with the, I think it's because of the link. Let's see if that's the case. Yeah, whenever I have a link inside a map, this happens well, not whenever, just sometimes. So the listing logo, what if I put the link as the main component, like adding the key here and put it like this? Not working, so maybe as div. No, this doesn't have as. I'm gonna fix that later. So we are not getting any C# ones because we don't have the icon for NetCore. So on the categories API, we should filter out those that don't have a logo to give priority on the ones that do. And yeah, maybe there should be a requirement that all listings have to have logos, or even better, on the theme one. Now I was going to say that if every category has at least one item, put it here, put the icons. Otherwise, don't put any. But I don't think that's a good idea. I think this looks relatively good, but maybe there shouldn't be cards. It should be like this. And it can be like putting the count. So I like that, so I'm gonna do that, but maybe not right now. But I'm gonna put to do at the end here. To do count inside a div that I can override later. To do count. Okay, in the flex, I'm gonna put item center, items end. So this is like at the bottom. And yeah, this view is ready. I think, well, header and footer should be on everything, I think. So maybe there should be a common specification item called header and footer. And define it here and use it on every spec, like here. Header and footer. Same with explore specs. Just like this, so I have a place to add more, easier. And header and footer also on categories. And submit. But submit, I'm gonna delete it from the views or themes. Yeah, header and footer, categories. This view is now done. What if I change the language to Spanish? It works instantly. So maybe there should be keys for categories in case you want to support multi-language directories, but I'm not sure. But let's see what else we can do. We have this route listing, but the edit, I remember the theme one edit, the gear one, should redirect to edit. We don't need the full URL. We just need to go to an edit route, and let's add that. So for listing.edit, we need something similar to the submit route. So I'm gonna use, well, first I'm gonna remove the submit from the themes. But let me think that for a second, because what if I regret that in the future? Submissions should contain multiple themes. I don't think so. I think themes should be for content only, not forms. Yeah, that's a good way to view it. So I'm gonna pull the action from the API server and put it here, and do the same thing for the loader. I'm gonna pull, and I don't need to export the action type data. For the loader, I'm gonna put the export and the type of loader data, and I can delete this file now. But first, I'm gonna add this on the first submit theme, but the use effect below, oh, it's already rendering that. So we can actually delete this file right away, but we need to test this route. We need to pull here the submit view from the theme number 1. So exporting this default function, and we need to import everything that's missing. But sometimes some imports are incorrect. That happens with links sometimes, and with JSON. Let's see what JSON it imported from Remix. Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna test this route. Server only referenced by. Why is it happening this? For those DB server, it's not correctly imported. Maybe that's a compilation error. No, it's actually an error on line 142. 142, the categories here. Okay. This shouldn't be like this. It should have its own data. Use typed loader data and use action data, typed action data. And the action data can be null or undefined. Yeah, null. So let's try again. Cannot read properties, reading categories. Okay. It's reading categories on which line? And 145. Category data. So this data comes from loader data. Are we getting the correct JSON? Let me refresh the server just to see if I imported something wrong. Let's see. All of these do look good. React. Okay, so it's the form. It shouldn't be React hook form. It's from Remix. I think that's the case. okay, it was the case, but we need another, there's another error. Categories, it's still not defined. What can I do to debug this? Let me go to console and data categories. What if I add, like, whenever I call dot categories, add like a question mark, just to see if I could have another error. Data categories, I'm gonna replace it with this. Yeah, I'm gonna have the same error for everything. Use type loader data, use type action data. What's happening here? I'm not exporting the loader. I don't know why I didn't copy the export. Okay, portal server. No, it was a temporary error. I think this should work now. And submit requires the user to log in first or to register. So let me try again. And now I'm gonna add another SaaS frontend starter kit. In this case, view 3. The category should be svelte. The framework is Vue.js. I mean Vue.js. The library is Tailwind CSS, and yeah, the same thing that I did with svelte, and it works. So now I can safely delete the submit theme from the configuration on the view specs here, as well as on where was it? On themes? No, I'm gonna delete just the submit folder as well as the submit themes folder. I'm just gonna check that I didn't implement something new on other themes. Yeah, I didn't, so this should work. And what else? We have, we were going to create the edit route. And I was going to copy paste from the submit, but instead of creating one, I'm gonna edit one. So we need the item, and the item is a listing DTO, and we're getting the page. We don't need this anymore on the submit page. Well, we can override the title and other things, so I'm gonna leave that there. But on the edit route, we don't need that. We don't need the page because there's no actual page for the edit of a listing. And if the user is not the owner, if user, but first we need to have the listing. Anyway, get listing, portal ID, and what's the interface? ID and status. The ID can be the ID or the slug, terms listing, and status published. If there's no listing, I'm gonna return the same thing that I do with the listing API. I mean, I'm not checking the status here, but for edit, it should be published, I think. I'm not sure. I'm gonna remove the status because what we're going to check is if the user is not the owner. If user if user ID is not the listing portal user ID, unauthorized. Yeah, and we need that helper function for translations, which comes from get translations and from the request. And the page SEO, we don't need SEO for this because it's protected route with authorization. authentication, and we're gonna pass the item. And the item is the listing. So I'm gonna rename the listing as item. Okay, now for the action, we are gonna edit, and we're gonna get all the same things like category ID, name, slug. Well, maybe the slug cannot be changed. Maybe that should be something that the directory owners can do, but we can change the name. So I'm gonna find the component for slug and comment it in case I need it in the future. And description, logo, image, CTAs. Okay, so CTAs, I guess there shouldn't be on this type of specification. Like the user will want always to have URLs, not buttons, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave it like that. And HTML is in required fields. We don't actually need that. And since we're updating, we don't need to put defaults. Like the logo shouldn't be like this. And the HTML as well, because if it's undefined, it will not update it. And the category ID will be retrieved in case it's set, and the attributes, that's correct. And we're not going to check the 16 slug because we are not going to update the slug. So instead of create listing, it's update listing, and the ID is of item ID. And we're not going to update the order. Let's see, we need the portal ID first. Portal ID. This is to protect to put double security, like to not have updates across multiple directories. I think this is listing, or we need the actual item here, just like we did before. Const item, and get the user as well. Const user, and check if it's logged in. And if it's not the owner, return it. Now, we're not going to update the portal. We're just going to update category, name, description, not the status. CTAs, logo, image, attributes, HTML, not by user ID and not by portal user ID. And not redirect, but return success with saved. Otherwise, an error. Okay, so I don't think we should have controlled inputs now. Well, maybe we do because we want to track the max characters of name and description. And the category slug shouldn't be used. We should put the actual data item category ID. And this can be null, so if it's null, I'm gonna put undefined. And same for the name, data item name. And we need to not use default values, but controlled. Default values are okay, but let's check one by one. We have the name, description, set value, and here the default value should have the logo, otherwise empty. Yeah, and do the same thing here. And for category ID, we need set value, that's correct. And attributes, this shouldn't be empty, it should be item attributes. And value for the HTML should be item HTML or content. We don't have the HTML here on the listing DTO. Oh, we need another type of listing DTO interface. It's called listing DTO with details. So we can now actually use the HTML and put a default to empty and save. And we can add a spacing to have button, secondary, destructive, um, delete, and I'm gonna disable it because maybe there should be a validation somewhere. And yeah, I think this should work. In case the user is the owner, it can go to this route and edit it, but it's no longer submit. So I'm gonna search for submit. And this is, well, the new page layout. I named it that way because it's centered, but let's see how it looks with edit page layout. Yeah, this doesn't look good. So I'm gonna leave the new page layout and change this to the title of the actual listing. Okay. And this shouldn't take only one column on the name. Since we deleted the slug, this should be one column. So we have name, description, logo, and we can actually edit anything from this. This delete button shouldn't be, well, it's the same color because this is destructive and the current theme that I'm using is red. So that's kind of confusing, but whatever. What else? What if we change the category to C#? We now have this project type. So let's see. Should be C#. And let's update the logo. And I'm gonna use whatever. I can actually use one of the directory logos that I created, like this one, GPT prompts, and whatever banner for this, like from the data lang. Whoops, define an action, but didn't return anything. So it did it correctly, but I didn't return anything on the action. Or maybe, yeah, I think the action name was called create. It should be called edit. So before doing all the changes, I'm gonna just add this. Okay, so now it works. Should be C#. And the logo, use the one from datalang and use the cover from datalang. Change it to C# framework.net core, project type web API, changed. Okay, changed. And let's refresh on the listings. We have this should be C# and C# net core and console app web API and changed. Yeah, so that works, but the user didn't actually create the CTAs. So let's add that because we don't have that on the submit. Maybe that should be there as well. Yeah, let me add that. I'm gonna use the one from listing ID where I'm updating the CTAs. Edit CTAs, where is it? I think it's called listing CTA table. Yeah, it's right here, the component. And I'm gonna reuse that on the submit on the portal after the JSON properties. Here, listings, but we don't have this component on the portal. Oh, we do. Item CTAs, on change CTAs, we need this controlled value. So let's go to my use states and put it here. And it, in this case, it's empty. Set CTAs. And the portal comes from, is missing the following properties. What properties? Listing CTA. Well, we may not need all the portal properties. So let's see, what am I using here? I'm using portal.themeColor. Okay, so theme color. string. So instead of having to use the whole object, I'm just gonna use the theme color. And the preview, well, we're using theme color as well here. Yeah. So this shouldn't have any error now. Portal ID, theme color. Well, I think it's because we need a different interface, like theme color. Yeah. And on the CTAs, this should work. Let me check. CTAs is not retrieved, so I'm gonna copy that as well from the listing ID. No, it should be edit CTAs. Yeah, this object should be used whenever I'm creating somewhere here. It's already here, so by adding the component, I should be able to add a new listing with CTAs and add a CTA. Well, this is weird because the portal header is being put on top. So let me think. If this is on the submit route, I'm gonna see the portal header. I'm gonna add a relative to see if that fixes it. But we need to toggle that. Yeah, not like that. So maybe a class name here with C10. Yeah, still not working. So I'm gonna go to portal header and see what C is using. It's using the highest value, so maybe that's the problem. What happened here? Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so now it works, but it still looks kind of weird that it's like that. So I'm gonna find a way to fix it, but for now, I wanted to check this with CTAs and put whatever framework and add whatever URL and see if that is saved. Yeah, we have this button. Well, but we didn't actually save the URL correctly, so maybe that should be fixed or sanitized on the server. But do the same thing and like use this component listing CTAs on the listing edit route. And this is below the JSON properties component. I'm still not sure if the user should be able to set the custom CTAs, but the interface can change later. So whenever I'm defining the description use state, I'm gonna define the CTAs use state and put it like this. We're not using the search params, and we're gonna remove all the unused imports. Okay, so try again. On the edit route, we have the existing CTAs and we can actually remove it and save it and go back. Well, maybe here we do need the menu that we had before, but I deleted it. Menu. Yeah, I think I need to recreate it. Let's see if I have submit theme backup and use this on the edit route, because here we should be able to go back to the listing. So instead of submit, I'm gonna put the data item name and go to that slug. and not using the ID, but the slug. And I like to add another item to just say to the user what it's doing. It's editing, so we can go back to the previous listing. Okay, let me add a cover image. And maybe on save, it should return instead of telling the user that it saved it. Here, redirect it to the slug. So we see the changes immediately, like this. Okay, so what we did today is implementing the route listing or the listing route, the categories list, the submit, the sitemap, user claims a listing. Yeah, that should be a notification like a button if I don't own a listing, instead of the gear button, like claim it if a user hasn't claimed it. User edits a listing they own, and yeah, nothing from this, but we checked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. So that's good progress. Thank you for watching.